So in this module, we'll be seeing on how do you set up a release management workflow. So what are all the objectives of this module? So we'll be seeing generally on Azure DevOps and release management tooling, and what is a build and release task, what is an agent queues and agent pools is about, and what is the difference between multi-agent and multi-configuration jobs, and how do you secure your connection, and what are all the possibilities of testing a pipeline, and what are all the different health, or how do you check your health of your pipeline, and how do you do a service hooks and reports, and what is a release gate and how do you create one. Let's jump into lesson 1, which is creating a release pipeline. So what are all the different parts in a release pipeline? One is staging, another one is job, another one is agent, another one is build and release task, another one is release pipeline. What is a CI/CD, what is a release gate, and what is a service connection. So these are all the different definitions of Azure DevOps. So you can see a stage is nothing but it is an isolated and independent target for a deployment. A job is nothing but a phase inside a release pipeline for you to do certain operations. Agent is nothing but where your build and deployment job runs. The build and release task is nothing but it's an executable task used for designed to run in a certain order. Release pipeline is a process that actually deploys an artifacts including your triggers, approvals, and gates. A combined process, the whole together, is going to be called as a release pipeline. And CI/CD is nothing but continuous integration and deployment, and release gate is an automated check that actually checks before your deployment. Service connection is a connection between your Azure DevOps and any other environment is going to be. This is going to be called as your build and release task. So you have a list of executable codes as part of your pipelines, and you can add multiple testing, utilities, packaging, deployments, and other areas. So you just need to go and click on add task, and there you can see list of all the tasks available over here. Certain tasks are for build, certain task is for utility, certain task is for test, certain task is for packaging and deploying and tools as well. If you're not able to find any task, you can click on the marketplace, and the task marketplace is nothing but your plugins area where you can see in all the tasks around 1200 300 tasks available. You can click on that and you can download it and you can add it to your pipeline. So these are all the important deployment tasks available. So you have Docker, you have Helm charts, you have IIS deployment, Kubernetes, PowerShell, and SQL deployments, Azure policy checks. So a lot of other things are there. Depending upon all these things, you can do multiple alerts. Like for example, this policy check, if you see, I can check the policy of creating a virtual machine or a website. Like if a policy I have kept is to not to create in a different region, like for example, except East US, I don't want to create my environment anywhere else, then it will stop the release. If I have Azure monitor alerts, then I can check if my VM or CPU percentage is high or low, and depending upon that, I can stop my release. So I can do all these things as part of my deployment task. So these are all the examples of different deployment tasks available. Apart from this, you have a lot of tasks in the marketplace as well. So these are all the agent pools, and the queues. So what is an agent? An agent is a place where your build and deployment or build and release runs. Agent pools are nothing but multiple agents combined together in a single pool is going to be called as an agent pools. So that you have your defined boundaries and you can have multiple agents combined together, so that I can call it as a QA agent pool, I can call it as a dev agent pool, I can call it as a production agent pool. So there is a definite boundary, like for production only I can use a production agent pool, for QA only I can use a QA agent pool. So it gives a much clarity and granularity across. And agent queue is nothing but it's a queue to provide the list of pool of agents. So first comes agent, and multiple agents combined together is going to be called as agent pools, and multiple agent pools combined together is going to be called as an agent queue. Okay. And there are two types of agents. This we have discussed in our previous module as well. So what is two types of agents? One is hosted agents, another one is private agents. Hosted agents are the one which is taken care of by the Microsoft people. We don't need to worry about it. They will be taking care of the patches, deployments, and everything. So they have multiple OS like Mac OS, Windows OS, Linux OS, everything available for them. They can try to use that, or we can try to use that instead of taking our overhead. That is going to be called as in hosted agents. Private agents, as the name indicates, we are going to create our own machine and we are going to install all the softwares, patches, licenses, everything, and we need to take care of that. So depending upon your project needs and depending upon your customer needs, you can choose whatever agents you want to choose. Deployment groups is again nothing but similar to your agent pools. Like I'm just combining multiple deployment groups together or multiple target environments together into a single group, going to be called as a deployment group. For example, if I have 5 virtual machines for a production, I'm combining all the 5 virtual machines together and I'm calling it as a production deployment group, so that when I try to deploy something on a production environment, I don't need to do it 5 times. I don't need to go into 5 different virtual machines and do it every time. I can deploy it to a production group, and that group automatically deploys it to a 5 different environments. So that kind of advantages this production deployment groups gives us. We'll be seeing it as part of our lab, like how do you create a deployment group and how do you actually install an agent inside the particular virtual machine, and then how do Azure DevOps knows like this is a part of deployment group or not. We'll be seeing it as part of our lab. Don't worry about it. So this is going to be a release agent job. So like for example, in a release agent, you can see here multiple agents are there. One is in the right hand side picture, you can see Mac OS job, that is one agent. Another one is like deployment group job, that is going to be one agent. Another one is like Ubuntu job, is going to be one agent. So in each and every agent, I can choose each and every OS as well. So in a single job, if you see, I have 3 agents and 3 different OS as well. I have a Mac OS, I have a Windows OS, I have a Ubuntu OS. So like this, I can combine multiple things together as an agent kind of jobs as well. That kind of facility also this Azure DevOps is helping us to provide. So before doing all these things, as always, you need to have a discussion with the release engineers or architects from your team, and you need to choose them like what kind of artifacts you want, what are the multiple sources of it, and how do you want to deploy your service, and what are all the multiple platforms you wanted to do, how many agents you want, how many agent pools you need. Do I need to do my deployments in parallel, or do I need to run it in sequence? Can I use a deployment groups, or can I use a agent pool? So all these questions that you need to ask, only then you will be able to prepare this release pipeline, because there are multiple options available for the release pipeline. But as always, you should have a complete understanding, and only then you will be able to do all these things together. Okay. These are all the release variables. As the name indicates, variables is nothing but you can use it as part of your pipeline, and the release variables have multiple scope as well. So I can include the variables and I can have a scope. If you see on the picture, I have a scope over there where I can choose this release variable to be applied only for that particular scope. If I choose the scope as a release, then it will be applied for the complete release. If I choose the scope as a dev, it will be applied only for the dev stage. If I choose a scope as a test, it will be applied only for the test stage. Similarly, I can segregate my scopes according to the different stages as well. So these are all some of the advantages that is being given as part of your release pipelines as well. We'll be seeing all this as part of our lab, but until then, just have a basic understanding of what is this release pipeline and what are all the variables and what is a task and agents as well. So we'll be seeing everything as a hands-on lab. Until then, if you guys have any doubts, please feel free to reach out. Welcome back. So in this lesson, we will be seeing on how do you provision and configure an environments. So what are the different ways to configure an environments? One, you can choose an on-premises environment. One, you can choose a cloud service or infrastructure as a service, for example, virtual machines or networks or the other areas. Another one is platform as a service or a function as a service, like web apps or functions apps or Cosmos DBs, anything. Another one is a clusters, like Kubernetes clusters or Docker clusters or Docker Swarm clusters. So these are all the different target environments that you can choose for your particular release. So we will be doing a hands-on lab to automatically create an infrastructure using Azure pipelines using ARM templates. We will be showing it as part of our lab, and we will have another lab to automatically connect to Azure VM using a deployment group, and then we will be showing you how do you do a Apache Tomcat web server deployment into an Azure VM as well. And automatically we will be showing you how to do a service connection to Azure, because without service connection you will not be able to connect your Azure DevOps to Azure Cloud. That is going to be called as a service connection. And how do you do the service connection and what is the service hooks, everything we'll be seeing it as part of our labs. So we will also be trying to do an AKS deployment, which is Azure Kubernetes Services deployment, or a Docker deployment as part of our lab. So until then, if you guys have any doubts on the theoretical session, please feel free to reach out. Just have a look into all these labs and then come again and read the theoretical part. It will be easy for you guys to understand. So in this lesson, we'll be seeing on how do you manage secrets within your release pipeline. So what do you mean by secrets? A secret is nothing but your username or a password which you find it as a secret. So how do you manage it? So we can have it as a task group, we can have it as a variable group, or we can have it as a custom built release task as well. So what is a task group? So a task group is nothing but what I'm going to do is like I'm going to combine multiple tasks together into a one group going to be called as a task group. So how do you can call it as encapsulating all the sequence of tasks into one reusable task. Okay, that is going to be called as your task group, and you can even parameterize that task group, and you can even make it as a centrally available for all your applications as well. And why do I need to do that? The reason I'm going to do that is nothing but if I have 100 applications in my project, and if I wanted to change any of the particular line or steps in 100 applications, then I need to have 100 times going and changing it. Instead of that, if I use a group, if I change it in one area of the group, automatically all the 100 applications will be reflected with the change. That is the use of this task group. And again, on this task group, you will be able to combine only the sequential task. You will not be able to combine first task and the last task. No, it cannot be done like that. It has to be sequential task. Okay, so we will also see this as part of our lab, like how do you create a task group and how do you add it as part of your pipeline. And what is a variable group? As the name indicates, it is going to store the variables, and it is going to be available across your multiple build and release pipelines. So you can store your username, password, and you can store your connection strings, you can store your geolocation, you can store all the settings of an applications, and everything will be stored as a variable groups, and you can include that variable groups as part of your pipeline as well. And what are all the list of custom build and release tasks? So this is a marketplace, and under the marketplace you can actually go and choose a build and release task, and you will be seeing a variety of options available, and you can choose whatever the particular plugin that you wanted to use, and then you can install it as part of your pipeline, and then you can use that task as well. So this is the variety of build and release tasks available for us to use it on a regular basis. So we'll be seeing it as part of our labs on how do you create a variable groups and how do you include it as part of our pipeline. And also there is one option called as task group. So we'll also be creating a task group, and we will be seeing it how to include it as part of our pipelines. So this is just going to be a lab section, and theoretical session is very less. So follow the labs, understand the concept, and then come again and watch the theoretical session so that it will be easy for you guys to understand it. Until then, if you guys face any doubts, please feel free to reach out. So in this lesson, we'll be seeing on how do you integrate secrets with the release pipeline. Okay, so secrets are actually needed because for any target environments, like for example, for QA, I might have certain secrets. For production, I might have certain secrets. So secrets are actually defined across target environments, and it is used to actually store the username and passwords and connection strings across. So where do I store all these secrets? So secrets can be stored across three areas. One, as a service connection, 2 as a secret variables, and 3 as a key vault. So service connection we already see in our previous labs, like service connection is a place where you're going to connect between one tool and another tool. There you're going to save your secrets. And another one is like secret variables. So we have seen in our previous lesson, like what is a secret variables? It is a variable group where you can store all your secrets and used across the pipelines. The third one is nothing but a key vault. So which is stored in Azure, or you can even use any of the other key vaults as well, like Ansible key vault, or you can even use HashiCorp vault as well. So this vault, as the name indicates, vault is nothing but to prevent your secrets. So you can store your secrets, variables, and everything as part of your key vault, and then you can include that key vault as part of your secret inside a pipeline as well. That kind of option is also available for us. So we'll be seeing it as part of a pipeline, like how do you include a key vault secret into your pipeline, and then how do you create a virtual machine out of it. And also we'll be seeing it as an hands-on lab, like how do you actually create a secrets in a key vault, and then how do you include it as part of your pipeline, and then how do you actually use the secrets, normal secrets versus key vault secrets. So both the different labs will be seeing it. And if you guys have any doubts on this, please look into the labs, practice it, and then come again, watch the theory, and then get back to me if you have any doubts on this. I am happy to help you guys across. So in this lesson, we'll be seeing on how do you configure an automated integration functional test case. So what do you mean by functional and automated test cases? So to set up a testing infrastructure, we actually need a testing agents, and the testing agents has to run on a target servers, and then it can be running on your own servers, or it can be running on your target servers, or it can even run on the cloud as well, because without an agent you will not be able to run any test cases, and without the agents you will not be able to find any test cases as well. So we are going to see a lab where we are going to run a load test cases, and we will be seeing it, how much is your response time, how many users are getting loaded, and how do you actually calculate the load of a particular test cases, and how do you do a penetration test cases, and everything as part of our lab exercises. So we have done a lab out of it, so just have a look into the lab sections and then come back and watch the theoretical session out of it. And How do you do an availability test case? Availability test case is nothing but you are going to check the health endpoint of your applications. You can use an availability test case as an application insights to test the health, or you can even use a URL ping test as well. So we have used two types of options over here. One, we can use an application insights, which is available inside an Azure. You have to go to inside Azure portal and then go to application insights and then do an availability test for the application, or you can choose it as part of your release pipeline as well, which is going to be called as a URL ping test. So we have even done a lab out of it. So just have a look into it, like how do you choose a URL ping test and then how do you check the availability of your applications. So try these two labs, and then if you guys have any doubts out of it, please feel free to reach out. So in this lesson, we'll be seeing on how do you automate the inspection of your health. So what are all the automation of inspection of your health? One is nothing but you're going to see it as part of your release gate. Another one is like the events and notifications that you're going to see it. Another one is like service hooks. Another one is going to be your reporting as well. So what are all the different automation of health case that you are going to see? So first, release gate. As a quality release gate or as an automatic approval, you can be configured as an automatic approval, and then you can even see you can do a configuration of pre and post stages, and you can see an evaluating of success of time frames, and you can ship out of the boxes in Azure DevOps, and you can have different release gates. Like you can call Azure functions to check that, you can call your REST API to check it, you can call Azure monitor, you can query the work items, and you can even publish it to the service buses. So these are all the list of options that I can do before doing anything on a production environment. So we'll be seeing a lab on how do you do a Azure monitor as part of your release gates. Like we will be checking an Azure monitor to check whether the status of the virtual machine is good, or we will also try to use one more lab like checking Azure policies to check whether the particular environment or a particular area is being good, and whether I can deploy my resources into East US or West US depending upon my policy, and based on that we will be trying to do a release gate as well as part of our labs. And what are all the service hooks? Service hooks is nothing but it helps you to enable the performance of the task, and then it also helps to give you the out-of-box integrations. Like you can have multiple tools to do a service hooks, like say if you see Bamboo is there, Jenkins is there, Slack is there, HipChat is there, Trello is there, and a lot of other tools are available for us to do a service hooks, so that whenever I want to trigger some actions, then I can use this service hooks. We'll also see a lab out of it, like how do you actually do a service hook to monitor the pipeline, or how do you actually use a service hooks to trigger another job as well. And we also are going to see how do you create a release dashboard, and how do you have multiple build and deployment tasks together, and how do you check the stability of a build, and how many builds are failed, how many builds are passed, how many releases have happened, and all these things. We will be creating it as part of our dashboard as well, and what are all the different widgets available. So just have a look into all these labs and then come back and then watch this theory. It will be easy for you guys to understand. So if you guys have any doubts on any of these things, please feel free to reach out.